Hey everyone, this is Jeff Risdon from Lions Wire and the Detroit Lions podcast, and no live show this week. Chris and I couldn't hook up in a proper amount of time when any of you could be watching, so you get the next best thing. Well, hopefully the next best thing. You get me talking at you a little bit for that. So without further ado, let's go. All right, we're going to put a bow on week 4, win over the Browns, 34-10. Not going to get a lot of style points for it, but hey, 34-10. It's a good win. That Browns defense, they can play. We talked about it last week leading into the game and the live show and the previews that we did. By the way, thank you all for watching the preview that I did last Friday, breaking down the Browns and what the Lions were going to go up against. And I think we covered it pretty well, honestly. It's a very good defense. They are vulnerable. The Lions didn't have their A game, but they brought enough of it that they were able to win comfortably. I think after the first drive, I don't think anybody really, especially towards the end of the first half, I don't think anybody was really scared that the Lions were going to lose that game anymore. Obviously, the first drive was a problem, the Browns' first drive. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But this was a game where the Lions took care of business against a lesser foe, but a game foe. And that's what good teams do. I burned my fantasy survivor pick on the Lions last week. I'm glad I did because there were some upsets. Sorry for those of you who bet against the Giants last week. Chargers were the second most picked team, and they're out now. So I'm staying alive. Don't know who to pick this week yet, but we'll get to that. Can't use the Lions anymore. That's kind of sad because, spoiler alert, I'd use them this week. Yeah. You know, the Browns, that defense presented a lot of issues, but Goff didn't have his best day. He had the miscommunication with J-Mo. There was an interception. That's bad. Those shouldn't happen. They do, though. And the thing is that they're anomalies. We don't expect them anymore. And like the Joe Flacco interception that he threw, well, first the one that he threw to DJ Reed, spectacular defense. Give Reed credit for that. That was gorgeous. Read the play the entire way, burst it and clicked and closed. I don't think Jerry Jeudy knew that he was even there until he was flying over his head making the catch. But the one that Flacco threw is a different kind of miscommunication between quarterback and wide receiver. Talking with some Browns guys after this game. Where Flacco threw that ball, where Kirby could have called fair catch for it on the sidelines. Such a bad throw. They don't have that in their route stem. Like that, from the alignment and where they were at and the coverage that the Lions were in, that's not ever a route that he would run. I've gotten that from a couple of different people that I trust, who know the Browns very well. That's just a bad play. Goff and J-Mo's miscommunication was rough, and it looks bad, and you need to clean that crap up. But it wasn't like this egregious human error thing. Like, one of them saw one thing, the other saw another. Goff, who admitted that he was in the wrong after the game, and I kind of believe him on it. I don't think he's covering for J-Mo there. I think he legitimately was like, yeah, I read that wrong and threw it to the wrong spot, and they made me pay. I'll take Goff's word for that. But the Lions did a really good job of handling a very good Browns defense. They put 34 points on the board. They're now the NFL's top offense. The Browns, by the way, fell out of the top defense, but they're still like, look, we all watched the game. I think getting 34 on that team, and I know Khalif Raymond had the punt return, and that makes a difference in the final score, and the Lions had some takeaways, including Kirby's and DJ's, that, set them up in nice field position to get, more scores. But 34 in that defense, not many teams are going to do that. That was pretty. That was nice. Goff wasn't at his best, but he was good. And again, you don't need style points. You need W's. This isn't playing for style. I thought they did a great job. I thought Amon-Ra was fantastic. Gibbs was very good. Offensive line was very solid once again. Thought it was a good week from Tate Ratledge. Pretty good week from Graham Glasgow again, which is great to see. He has really gelled just in having the youngsters around him on either side of him. First week was rough. Since then, I think Graham Glasgow has played some very good football, and that's very encouraging. Hopefully he can stay healthy and keep at it, because that is a massive gain for the Lions from week 1 to now where we're at in week 5, which is effectively the quarter pole of the season. If I can get 3/4 of each quarter of the season good out of Graham Glasgow, I'll take that. And I think the Lions will too. I think most of you watching would as well. Liked what the defense did. Look, I know the Browns were playing backup offensive tackles and their wide receivers, although I will say Isaiah Bond, nice. That Browns rookie class outside of their quarterbacks is phenomenal. Great. Then they needed it. They still need it. And they're going to see if Dylan Gabriel can be it, because he will be starting against the Vikings in London this Sunday. Get a little morning wake-up call with an NFC North foe playing the Browns. Sounds like Carson Wentz is going again. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I wonder how he's going to handle pressure with Minnesota's offensive line as jumbled as it is, but that's for around the division. Go Cleveland, hometown up there. No, by the way, I am not a Guardians fan. I don't care. I don't care about baseball. I just don't. That they're at 1-1 as I record this on Wednesday evening. I know that the Tigers won yesterday. Schoolboy is fantastic. Today, the Guardians went off late on the bullpen. I haven't watched the pitch. It's just not, baseball's just not my thing anymore. But I have no allegiance there at all. My wife, however, is a Tigers fan, even though we used to go to then Indians games a lot back when we lived there, 30 years ago. Time flies, man. It never stops. Yeah. I was very pleased with how well the Lions defense did things to that offense that they didn't expect. Hutch was fantastic. I thought Tyleik Williams played a really good game. Impactful without making an impact on the stat sheet. It's the second time he's done that. Did that against Chicago as well. Really like how he's coming along. I thought you saw Kirby play very well after the first drive. Thought you saw Jack Campbell, monster game. Fantastic game. Again, after the first drive. That's becoming a bit of a theme. It's really a theme with Campbell. If you go back to the week before, I broke down his game where I do the give him a plus for a good play. It's basically doing PFF without the base scores in it. And Campbell had a wretched first drive. He got 3 minuses on the first drive. He got like 2.5 more for the rest of the game, where he was arguably the best player on the defense. That kind of happened again. And I don't want to pin the first drive woes on Jack or any one player, because it's not. But there's a lot of guys who could come out of the game a little bit hotter, and he is one of them. Hutch is one, for example, too. I think he sort of is feeling out how he's being blocked, how they're going to pay attention to him, how many times they're going to chip him with an extra tight end and a running back going at him, which the Browns did a crap ton of. We saw a lot of resources devoted to that. And I don't think it was AQM's best game. I expect him to be a little bit better. He didn't have a bad game. Again, you hold any opponent to 10 points. I don't care that it's Joe Flacco in the Browns with backup offensive tackles. It's a professional team over there. There's some good players on that team. Joel Bitonio, one of my all-time favorite players, from covering the Browns and just from watching them from afar, too. Dude is a monster of a guard. He is what I hope that Tate Ratledge can become in time. And there's some similarities there, actually. I'm hopeful for that. So when the Lions defense can do what they did to Cleveland, it's very impressive. I was very pleased with Amon-Ra St. Brown going off again. Thought he was great. Thought the Browns did a really good job of bottling up David Montgomery. And one of the things that they do very well is that their defensive tackles hit gaps such that their linebackers can knife through and their safeties can knife through. And Gibbs can kind of scoot around that or get wider earlier. And Montgomery just doesn't have that. I think he had 12 yards on 9 carries. That's rough. It's a rough day. They did a good job against him. Let's talk about J-Mo for a sec. J-Mo didn't have a great game. No doubt about it. He put 2 balls on the ground on his own. And the interception was a miscue. Again, Goff took credit for that, rather shouldered the blame for it. I'll believe the quarterback on that. But Jameson Williams was the preferred weapon to beat the Browns, which is how you beat them over the top. If your pass protection can hold up, and by and large, I think they did a very good job. By the way, no sacks for Myles Garrett. Still had a tremendous impact on the game. I think anybody who watched would agree with that. But he touched Goff once. 1 quarterback hit. Had a lot of pressures. Got a couple of very quick solo wins against Taylor Decker. Had one very quick solo win against Penei Sewell, too. Guys, look, I said it last week. I think he's the best football player in the league, regardless of position. So for the Lions to keep him from making a major negative impact, he didn't make a dent in the sack column. 1 QB hit. I believe he had 1 TFL on Montgomery and 2 total tackles. That's containing a defensive MVP candidate. Go to the flip side. Aiden Hutchinson. 2 sacks. Forced fumble. Pressure galore. 2 other tackles for losses. Got a couple of scary hits where he got chipped. Thank God. The one where he was laying on the ground holding his wrist. Yeah, I freak out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, oh no. Got up. He was fine. Said he got the wind knocked out of him. Crisis averted. You know what? That leads us into the injury report. It's Wednesday. Dan talked today. He got great news. Aleem McNeil back at practice. 3-week practice clock starts today. They have 21 days from today, which is handily October 1st. So it's until October 22nd that they have to activate him. By the way, they can activate him. Then they have a bye. And then he plays the weekend after that, which would be Halloween weekend. Works out pretty well. I like it. He has been raring to go. As Dan Campbell said, I feel bad for the guys that are lined up across from him because he's got a lot of pent-up energy and excitement and is eager to show himself. Yeah. It's going to be great to have Aleem back in the middle of that line. And DJ Reader and Tyleik Williams are playing good football. Make no mistake about that. And actually, Tyler Lacey's played pretty well. I didn't know much about Tyler Lacey until we've seen him in the last couple of weeks. Guy can get after a little bit. I thought he played a very good game against Cleveland and has earned reps there. But you're going to be able to bring Aleem McNeil into that. And now where you're worried about the edge depth, where it's Hutchinson and Al-Qadim Muhammad and pray for rain, now you can go heavy because Lacey has shown he can play out there. You can put Aleem out there. Now, not all the time, obviously not a full-time solution, but you can put packages out there where you've got a lot of beef up front to handle 12 personnel, to handle 22 personnel when teams go to that. Don't see much of that in the NFL these days, but teams that are going to try to run against a lighter box, let's say the Lions decide to go nickel, but have 4 heavy up front, with Hutch being the lightest guy. You can do that. They did it in practice this summer. It worked pretty well against our own offensive line, which I think we'd all agree is pretty good. So there are wrinkles coming. It'll be great to have Aleem back. Love to get his energy into the game. He is unblockable at times. He's going to make Tyleik Williams better just by practicing with him, next to him, teaching with him. Look, you can say mental reps all you want, and you can learn from observing all you want. But when you've got the guy there next to you doing it, it's different. For people who learn that way, and I don't know Tyleek well enough to know if he learns that way, but like if you're one of those types of learners, completely invaluable. It's fantastic. DJ Reader's been playing great. I know there are a lot of Lions fans out there who think that because he's not getting stats, he's playing terrible and is a waste of money. I will tell you, you're wrong. Would it be great if he got a sack? Yeah. It's not what he's doing. It's not what he's here for. Not what they're paying him to do. If they wanted their nose tackle to get sacks, well, they'd play Aleem. They'd play Aleem and Tyleek all the time together, and then you'd have to worry about the run defense as much, and keeping Jack Campbell wouldn't be as good. Alex Anzalone wouldn't be good. Derek Barnes, who had a great game in Cleveland, wouldn't be as good because DJ Reader is keeping those blockers from getting to that second level. And if you watch the game tape, even just the broadcast feed, you can see it. Like it's very noticeable. I think he's doing great, and it plays very well with the linebackers. So a little bit about the injuries, because the injury report did come out today. DJ Reed is on IR. He will be out for the next 4 games. Not just 4 weeks, it's 4 games, which does take them through their bye week and into November. It's unfortunate, but it's honestly probably the best case scenario for what he did after getting carted off with the hamstring. No season-ending surgery, nothing like that. The Lions, unfortunately, have a great deal of experience in rehabbing hamstring injuries. Looking for Ennis Rakestraw somewhere. If you had to Malik Funlu, Jerry Jacobs had it when he was here. Jeff Okuda had it when he was here. Common injury. J-Mo has had it. St. Brown has actually had it a couple of times. So DeAndre Swift missed a game with it a few years ago. It's a fairly common malady, and thankful that it wasn't torn from the bone, as DJ Reed said after practice today. He seemed to be in good spirits. That's great. Terrion's hurt. Terrion Arnold, who a fair portion of you who are listening to this are instantly throwing things at the screen. He's awful. Get him out of here. We're better off without him. No, we're not. He might not be what you want him to be. He's a quality player. He's making too many penalties. Does he make mistakes? Hell yeah, he does. He does. No doubt about it. Is he an NFL quality starting cornerback right now? Mostly. Yeah. He needs to get better. He's got things to work on. I thought he played really, really well after the defensive pass interference in Chicago. I thought he played a great game in the second half of that game, and he was a big reason why the Lions were capable of doing what they did in that game. Not Houston. I will forever associate DeAndre Hopkins with Houston. That's my bad. But after that penalty with Hopkins, I thought he played great in that game. Was doing okay this weekend. The Browns, Isaiah Bond got him a little bit, but if you go early in the game, to go back to that first drive blues for a second, one of the ways that Cleveland was effective in the first drive was that they threw at DJ Reed. He gave up 3 completions on that opening drive, including a long one that set them up for their touchdown. It's mixing things up. Look, the Lions have plenty of depth at corner right now. Amik Robertson is a quality starter. He was in line to earn some Terrion reps, and that's fair. He should. He's been playing very well. And Terrion does have his struggles, no doubt about it. I think we're good there. Khalil Dorsey being out with a concussion, he did not practice today. That's a little bit concerning because he has experienced depth. Look, they brought in Trey Flowers. Not that Trey Flowers. Not that guy. This is the guy who's the cornerback from the Seahawks. Tall guy. He's 6'2", can play press. He played for the Seahawks for several years, has bounced around since then. They brought him in He's on the practice squad. He could probably be an elevation this week. They'll be okay. Avonte Maddox, Rock Ya-Sin, these are experienced starting cornerbacks in the NFL. They're not great. At this point, are they better than Terrion? Maybe. They could be. Certainly could be for a week. I don't doubt that. Be nice if Terrion can play, though. And he did practice today, so that's good. To get him out there, I think would be good. Look, the Bengals, to jump a little bit ahead, literally the only thing that scares you about the Cincinnati Bengals is Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Maybe Trey Hendrickson, but I think Panay's got that. I think we're good there. But so it'd be great to have your best corners out there, and Terrion should be one of our best corners. Let's hope he plays more consistently like it more often, because there are times when he's been fantastic. I know some of you don't want to hear it, but tape says otherwise. Does he have some bad tape? Yes, he does. That's got to get better too. No doubt about it. He's young. Those of us who've been around for a long time went through this with Darius Slay. I'm not saying that he's going to come out the other end like Darius Slay, but the beginning of the career is somewhat similar, where Terrion struggled. Look, he is a guy who relies very heavily on his own confidence and ebullience and, having that sort of, like, I can make this play and I can get over this bad play. Well, he doesn't always do that super well yet. And I think that's something that they're working on with him. And let's hope that there are fewer and farther between. That would be great. One thing that did come up, and this came up in a couple of the post-game press conferences, J-Mo hit a drop on a deep throw. And it was to the outside shoulder when it probably should have been to the inside shoulder. Long throw. Y'all remember this early in the game. And it kind of hit him and went away. And it almost looked like he lost it in the lights, and he didn't say that. But then throughout the rest of the game, there were a lot of receivers on both teams that were struggling to catch throws with high trajectories. And after the game, I found this interesting. Amik Robertson said he should have intercepted that one ball, but he lost it in the lights. Straight quote from him. Harold Fannin, the Browns tight end, who had oh my God, like, it's here, and then it's not like, he said in his post-game press conference, he never saw that ball. He completely lost it. That's weird. It's an indoor stadium. I don't think they've changed the lights, and I haven't ever really noticed that before, of players like an epidemic of players not being able to track high throws. But it seems like that was the case, and the interviews in the postgame back that up. I wonder if there was, the change in the lights, or I don't know. It's weird. A couple people who were sitting high up in the scene did say that the air conditioning was blasting like higher velocity than normal, but I don't know how that works. Well, I don't know. It was strange. It's not making an excuse here. This is just an observational point. That's kind of strange that many guys were talking about it, because that's not something that you normally get. Let's go on. Sure. The Bengals. The 2-2 Cincinnati Bengals. They won their first two. Joe Burrow played in those games. They've lost their last two in epic fashion. And we get a little bit of an advantage here. They played Monday night in Denver. I feel sorry for you if you watched that entire game. I knew at halftime it was over, so I bagged it. I watched the rest of it Tuesday morning. They got annihilated again. And the two starts for Jake Browning, who, by the way, is regarded as one of the NFL's better backups. He did go 4-3 as a fill-in for Burrow a couple seasons ago. Beat Kyle Helena for that job once upon a time. Browning in his 2 starts, I wrote these down here. 3 TDs to 5 interceptions. Threw 14 passes to Jamar Chase, who is right there with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson, whoever else you want to put in the argument as the best wide receiver. He's there. He belongs there. He's great. T. Higgins, pretty darn good number 2. I think we'd all agree on that. When there was potential that he was going to be able to be had, my goodness, our Patreon Slack blew up. Go get T. Higgins for me. Yes, make this happen. He stayed in Cincy. Good player. The other night they caught 8 passes for 55 yards. It was almost half their team's output. They got 9 first downs against Denver. Denver's a good defense. Don't get me wrong on that. They're not Cleveland, but they're not far away from that. But some of the throws that Jake Browning makes are just a couple of the routine throws. He made a couple of throws that when we first watch it, in real time when you watch it, it's like, oh, wow, what a great throw. T. Higgins went way up and extended and got both feet down, threw it over. In retrospect, when you look at it, it's like, had he thrown that ball a little bit more accurately, it's a touchdown. He's open. There's no safety closing over the top. He threw it too far outside and too short, too high. There's a lot of that. Their game tape is littered with it. In their last 2 games with Jake Browning starting, easier for me to say, they have a yardage differential of minus 534. I'll repeat that. In 2 games, they've played Minnesota and they've played Denver. They are negative 534 in yards. Y'all, that's hard to do. Their defense isn't awful either. But they're just not getting it. Their offensive line, there's a clip out there where both tackles got beat at the same time. They have 3 guys blocking 1, and they don't exactly stop him either. I feel for him, honestly, because we've been there. Early Stafford era, specifically after Dom Raiola was gone. He had some struggles, man. Ugh. It's rough. They don't have a great line. They don't have a great run game. They can't run the ball at all. They are the worst run team in football, and is not even particularly close. They're awful. They're actually better off on 1st and 10 in the last 2 weeks at throwing an incompletion than they are at running the ball in terms of setting it up for EPA. That's how bad their run offense is. And that's not just a Jake Browning program. That is an offensive line problem. That is a running back problem. That's a schematic problem. That's a predictability problem. One of the reasons why their coach, Zach Taylor, could very well be coaching his last game this week. There are those rumblings coming out of Cincinnati already that Taylor's look. Cincinnati's not an easy place to coach. It's not an easy place to win at all. There's a lot of things conspiring against them there, but he's not helping himself. And no. We'll see how that plays out. But the Lions were 8.5-point favorites Monday night before kickoff. They got up to 13 on a couple of sports books. I think it's settled back down to about 12 now. 11.5, 12, depending on where you place your wagers. Gamble responsibly, please. Last money line I saw, which is where you bet, and there's no point spread. You just bet on the straight winner. Lions were minus 580. Or a plus 580. Means you have to bet $580 to win $100. That's not really worthwhile. I mean, it's profit, but I don't know. This should be a good win for the Lions. it's funny because when we looked at this game preseason, when you're going through this playing the schedule game, you're like, man, this could be tough. But Trey Hendrickson has been good, but not superhuman. He hasn't been Hutch. Dinged up I think it was his quad in the Monday night game. I haven't seen the Bengals injury report yet, but stay tuned on that. You just saw a lot of guys dejected on that bench. Like what the hell? And what's crazy is they're 2-2. If the playoffs started today, they're very much still in that mix because the Ravens have fallen off a cliff. After the Lions beat them, Lamar Jackson might not be playing. Browns are the Browns. We just saw that. Dylan Gabriel is going to be starting against Minnesota in London. Nice little treat for us to watch some NFC North football when we wake up on Sunday morning. Enjoying your coffee and crumpets or whatever you eat for breakfast. I'm sure I don't even know what a crumpet is. Tea crumpets? I don't know. I like coffee. I like biscuits. Bacon. Bacon's always good. Strawberries, bananas. But I digress on the breakfast foods. I like the Lions in this game a lot. I think this is a get-right game for the offense. J-Mo can have a big game. They do have decent linebackers that cover fairly well, so Laporta might not have a big game. It might not be Gibbs' best game. Look, St. Brown is saying he's Saint, man. He's going to get off against anybody. I think you go out and you take a 10-0, or since the Lions keep giving up first drive touchdowns, and I really hope that stops and goes away, but even if Cincinnati scores, end the first quarter tied at 7, go to halftime up, I don't know, 17-10. I think you're good. You got to keep beating them. You got to keep at it. But I like the Lions a lot in this game. I think it's going to be a good one. I don't know if there's a post game show yet from this week. Chris and Gray will fill you in on that later. But until then, I hope to have. I tried to set it up for tonight. It didn't work out. I'm trying to set it up for Friday where I have a guest where we talk about a couple of things, Lions and draft related. If it comes together, that's great. If not, we will wind up doing it next week. I did put up a mock draft at DraftWire today. You can check that out. See who I have the Lions taking. I think you'll like him. More to the point, I think the Lions will like him. And we'll go off that. But till then, be good to one another and let's go Lions.